All right, we're live. Plane in traffic. Ray Guarino, Metco Man Brian. Lewis Lee is going to be a little late. He's on his way. He's going to see if he can get in on his cell phone. But we'll kick the ball off and get it rolling. And we're just talking before the show a little bit about brakes. I know Lewis wants to talk about hot rods and hot rods versus something or other. I forget what his tagline was, but brakes are the issue of the day. Incompatible parts and and then bleeding is the other thing. So let me get right to that. I'll just drop the bomb right now. This Mustang I was working on has a it's got to be, it's really not a proportioning valve, because a proportioning valve varies the pressure between a disc and a drum system. But it is shaped just like a big brass proportioning valve. And a combo valve does proportioning, and it's got to be just a metering block is what it is.
That metering block on the firewall, right? Or down on the frame?
Well, no, they put it, it's aftermarket because the car had a power. They kept the four-wheel drums, but they did a conversion to power dual circuit drums. So they, of course, the power booster and the master go where they go. And this block is up on that the inner fender well on the left side. So that's the biggie there. So the problem was I'm bleeding the brakes, and I found when I bled the right rear and the left rear and the right front, the front chamber of the master cylinder would lose brake fluid.
Mm-hmm.
When I bled the left front, the rear chamber of the master fluid would lose fluid. So if you caught like what I was saying, 3 brakes are on one chamber of the master and 1 brake is on the other chamber of the master.
That sounds...
So it's not a 50-50 system. It's a 75-25 system. And the problem is, I made a sketch of the brake block, but I don't know, it's not labeled, at least that I can see, of what line is supposed to go where. So I don't know how it's supposed to be. And not knowing, this ties right into what we were just talking about, not knowing whose part it is, I don't know where to look for the information.
When I took mine apart, when I took that block off, I had scribed with a metal scribe, just not Sharpie, but left front, right, because of the same thing. There was no marking on it in the first place. Yeah. And I do have a drawing someplace also. It's just after the 20 years, where did I put it?
Exactly.
Or can I find it?
Is the paper still intact?
Yes. That is true.
So obviously that's not good, but that's where I left it because I didn't know. I wasn't sure how to change it. I didn't know what to do. And it's not like you just plug in wires into different ports. These are hard lines that have to be plumbed and replumbed and maybe rebent. And it's a bad split. It's a bad spot. It's hard. Like I said, that block, they sat it kind of right under the left side hood hinge.
Yeah.
So from the bottom of the car, it's a real long stretch up. And from the top of the car, you got that block at the hood hinge and spring, the master cylinder's right there. Then those dopey cross braces are all in there. It's all, you wouldn't think that it would be a problem on a 6-cylinder car, but it is. It really is. So, we go on to the bleeding method. And of course I started with using my hand pump, when I did the Chevelle, we built at the shop. It was a totally dry system. So I bench bled the master, installed it, and then I used my Phoenix reverse bleeder to inject the fluid. The theory of fluid dynamics is that, air wants to rise in fluid. It doesn't want to sink. So the people of Phoenix say, why try and force all the fluid and air down from the master, or calipers down where, the air is going to fight it and try and rise. Push it in the direction it wants to go, and the air it'll evacuate easier. So I did. I reverse bled the Chevelle, right rear, right front, left front. The master was already bench bled. Boom, the car was done in about a half hour. Beautiful. It was a Chevy too, so this is a Ford. So I tried reverse bleeding. Fluid didn't even want to go up. I mean, I had trouble. I couldn't even get fluid to travel up on some of the wheels. So then I went to a traditional Mighty Vac vacuum type bleed, and I started getting fluid. But I did it again and again and again. And finally, today, what I did is I brought my dopey little one-way valve on a hose, put it into a clear container. But now the funny part is, you want to really see, you want to look at that container because you want to see the air bubbles coming out, and
Right.
You're stroking the brake pedal now. So I found that doing the front left was easiest because luckily the car's convertible. I found an old flagpole rod, and I used the flagpole rod. I put it through the steering wheel onto the brake pedal, and I just pushed it, and I could look over the fender and see the container. The other three, I had to literally like look under the car and look at it. And the problem was I kept taking out too much fluid. Every time I went to refill the master, it was almost dry.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I had to redo it a couple of times, but it seemed to work pretty well. I was going to take out the Mighty Vac pressure vacuum bleeder, the one you use shop air on, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't get that far. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on bleeding Ford brakes?
Well, like I said, I usually end up doing it old school, and I grab the missus, or now that the kids are older, I'll grab one of the girls and tell them to pump, and I can stand there and crack it and do it.
Yeah.
I fought with all that stuff, just like everybody else does. You spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars of different methods, and I will admit the KD made a tank, and it had a pressurize. You pumped it up by hand. They did have one that was also air, but I mean, you could take it anywhere and you could pump it up. And that one, you put 20 PSIs in it and you were good to go. So that was always the easiest way of doing.
Right.
But I was just sitting here looking on I would be really curious on that metering block or that crossover valve thing that had, if that was still like the original one in it, and you're having problems with like pressure, pedal pressure, or some kind of spring pressure or something.
It doesn't look to be old. It looks brandy new. It's that nice clean brass.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I can say is yesterday I found, when I was starting to do some bleeding, in the top, the middle port on the top of the block, there's a brake switch.
Yeah.
It's a brake failure switch. Mustang didn't use that originally.
No, it was later on.
And this thing was leaking. And I'm like, okay, and why was it leaking? Because the valve was fully plastic from the threaded part that threaded into the brass. Right. I mean, so I've seen it mostly that it's a metal aluminum body, and then maybe the top part is like a black phenolic that gets crimped, and it'll leak there. This thing was fully plastic. So whoever did this sourced out the cheapest piece of crap brake switch they could find. So I knew what size it was, and I came home last night. I started digging through all my brake assorted parts, and I'm looking for a plug. And I was very surprised to find out that the thread size that fit was 3/8 24. It was a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah.
But so I brought a bolt, and I told the guy, I said, listen, you could try and get another switch. We could put it in, or I could put some thread sealer on this bolt and I'll run it in, which is what I did. Now, that's where I was calling your name today, because now that block is right below the hinge. And of course, Ford runs, the wiring coming through the firewall is right there behind it. And of course, that's where Ford runs all the wires. And why they had to go around the shock tower? That's another rant I have. Why did they go around? Why couldn't they just go down the rail? There's easier ways of doing this. So now you got the two little wire bundles there, and the hinge, and of course the master cylinder, and then those dopey cross braces. So trying to get a wrench in there, I was like, man, this is the time I needed a really good narrow ratcheting wrench because the one I had was too big. And then I'm thinking, boy, now I see why guys are buying the real stubby ratcheting wrenches, because that could have helped out too. But no, I didn't have that either. So literally what I found out was I was able to take a 9/16 universal socket with a long extension and go on the outside of the hood and kind of pass it down and use the universal to bend it and put a little ratchet on it. And I tell you, my Matco 3/8 1/4-inch ratchet I love it for this kind of work because
the one we made, right?
You'll never over torque stuff. And that's how I finally tightened it. I was like, man, where's the tool truck when I need it? It's like,
So Ray, do you play a lot of pool? Because it sounds like you were sighting down an angle, to find out how to go through there.
I am a pool player, yes.
See, I knew that because number one, all these guys, yes, the stubby wrenches and whatnot are cool, and the little short ratcheting wrenches are cool. But for many years, we didn't have that stuff, and that's what you did.
That's right.
Matco, SK, Snap-on, all of them made an extension. It's about 3 feet long. It's 1/2-inch drive on one end and 3/8 drive on the other end. And it was meant for pulling transmission work. But I'm telling you, I used the living crap out of that tool.
That's one extension I don't have. I was using my 2 foot long. It's got to be at least 24 inches, 3/8 extension. And
Brian, you know which extension.
Oh yeah, I sold. And the funny part is, every once in a while I put them on the truck or walk in, and people say, "What the hell is that?" And the 1/2-inch on one end and 3/8, especially a locking one, is gold. I mean,
they didn't make the locking one back when I bought the one I had.
No.
Yeah, no, the first generation was not locking, but the later on you could do. You can't. They all come locking now because of spinning one up on a 1/2-inch and throwing a socket across the shop, hitting somebody in the head. But
yeah.
I'll let it hit him in the head. He'll heal. That windshield costs money.
Yeah. And just to finish the Ford rant, now I got the car in the lift, but I'm working on it low so I can get to the wheels. You can't have it too high because then when you come around, you can't reach over the fender to refill the master cylinder. As it was, I had a little step stool. And to fill that master cylinder, again, you got to go over those cross braces. The bottle of fluid is literally above the fender by about 1 foot, and you're pouring down. It's like you got to overshoot so you'll compensate for the drop.
Well, that aftermarket that dual piston dual chambered master cylinder probably throws the geometry off a little bit on that, because if it was the old single bowl, which would fit right inside that little triangle between the braces and the hood, it'd be a little different story.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the same spot, but it's just that it's dropped down. I guess the single pot's probably taller. So again, it was just like one little challenge after the other. It's just one thing after the next. And
dual chamber master cylinder probably throws the geometry off a little bit on it. If it was the old single pole. There we go, the man.
All right, he got his audio squared away. How you doing, Lewis?
How's it going?
How you doing, Lewis?
Good. Ray,
Stay cool.
Yeah. Ray, thanks for starting the ball off.
No problem.
I went
It's
to
easy to get rolling.
training course so I could learn to shoot better.
It was like an advanced shooter course?
Yeah. I don't mess around.
What type of tactics are they teaching you?
It was handgun, situations, like in a restaurant or out in public situation.
Nice. So what's what did they deem? Did they get into the whole thing about like when to unholster, when to draw, or when not to, or?
No, we more worked on technique. How
Okay.
to draw from sitting down, how to move, shoot,
All right, so
things like that.
basically it's
How to
go
reload.
time, and you're gonna arm. Okay, that's anything like that is good to go through. It really is.
Yeah, it was a good course. FBI agent. He trains the FBI. He's retired, and he was running the course. It was pretty good.
Nice. Is that just a one session course?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So what's going on, Paul? Anything good?
Oh, same old, but you're talking old school hot rods tonight. I figured I want to be part of this.
Yeah. So I get in a debate with a guy, and he's a hot rod lover, and I was like, well, what is your I mean, some people only like certain things. They only like either hot rods or low riders or Mopar or Ford. You know what? I like anything that you put gas in. It don't matter. You know what I mean?
What it comes down to is special interest automobiles or motorsports across the board is very much like ice cream. We all like ice cream. Everybody likes ice cream. Nobody doesn't like ice cream.
Right.
But not everybody likes chocolate. Not everybody likes vanilla. Not everybody likes strawberry. So you can go to Baskin & Robbins and you get 31 different flavors. So you got the low riders, you got the tuners, you got the old school, you got the new school, you got the purist, where you cannot alter this thing at all. It's the way it has to be. It's the way it was made. And then you got people like me who are just, let's cut it up and see what else we can make out of it.
Yeah, you're right. But some people, man, they'll argue with you. Oh, you can only drive this. Or, I'm like, man, dude, you ain't a car person to me. If you don't like
Not even
everything.
that. The worst arguments are when it comes down to that's not a hot rod or that's not a, this or that. And then you have to defend, okay, well, you know what, guys, we don't have a definition. I'll show you what I
just like ice cream, everybody's opinion and everybody's definition of the word rat rod or the word hot rod or the word muscle car. Everybody's opinion and definition is different.
This is kind of the dictionary of it's A-bones to zoomies. I mean, everything about old school cars is in here. Can you see that okay? It is Hot Rod Dictionary, in fact.
Oh, that's cool.
You got the Von Dutch eyes. Yeah. So I revert to this. But, like I said, everybody's got their ideas, and there's a lot of crossover. That's the problem. There's a lot of crossover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, flavor from everywhere.
Yeah.
Which some people don't want to, even some people don't want to recognize that or agree to that.
Right.
So that's
Chris on my show, the radio show, when I was talking about redoing my car, and he saw I was varying from stock, and he's a stock original guy, and he said, well, why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you put it back original? And I said, well, because if I did, I wouldn't want to drive it because it'd be terrible.
Yeah.
And I said, the thing is, I said, there's no challenge to that. I'm like, yeah, if you want to find a date-coded set of ignition wires, or if you're going to go that crazy, all right, so now you got a lot of parts to hunt for that are old.
Mm-hmm.
But the factory gave you the blueprint of how to build that car, and you're just going to replicate that. When you build it yourself, you make the blueprint and you overcome the challenges, and a lot of times that's when you put something in and you'll change it because hey, it didn't work out.
Yeah,
that's hot rodding. Not doing what the factory did.
True. So I understand your vehicle is a mid-60s Mustang?
No, this one I'm working on at the shop is a 66 Mustang. It's not mine.
Okay, so it's the one at the shop. It's a 66 Mustang.
Yeah.
I spent 5 years dealing with the Mustang Club of America and their rule books and how they judge and classify cars.
Okay.
Solely Mustangs.
Yeah.
And for the 66 Mustang, there's really like 3 different classes or 4 different classes that car could be in.
Okay.
And when you take it to the point of everything properly date coded and everything 100% correct, those cars were made in 3 different plants. They were made 3 different ways.
Yeah.
So you can't say that all 66 Mustangs were this way.
Well, I mean, that goes for any car, you know, a Camaro, Chevelle, they were built in factories across the country, you know, and there was stuff that happened in Norwood that didn't happen at Van Nuys. And, you know, that's known with pretty much all the makes. And like, but who the hell cares?
Right. That's
Who
right.
cares?
Judge.
If you're building a car to go back to that location to be in their museum, okay, now you want the stuff that Norwood did. Otherwise, who cares? And the guys that do care, I don't hang around with.
Well, you know what? The guys that do care are the ones that are opinionated, and they're the ones talking loud, and that's what bothers me. You know
You're
what?
right.
You have
But
your
hold on. There's a flip side to that coin, Lewis Lee. There's a flip side to that coin. The guys that are being like that and the ones that are talking loud, 50% of them actually have deep pockets. And, you know, I've gotten to where I am in life because of a lot of these people. So I'm thankful for them.
Well,
Yeah.
true.
That's true. But you
know,
know what?
That guys, they can't do for themselves, so they have to have the way somebody else did it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that with motorcycles. When you get into the biker community, I don't care what subgenre you want to be in, you're going to find those guys. And a lot of times, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's probably pretty high. The guys talking the loudest, I'll ask them, what kind of car do you have? Oh, I don't have one right now, but I had the best one of these in the world back in the day. Oh, you did? Okay. But you have nothing now. No. Driving a minivan. Okay.
Next.
And like I said, that's why I don't hang out with those guys. I just can't do it. I don't have the, and as I'm getting older, I really don't give a shit. I'll just tell you straight out, like, sorry. I'm channeling John tonight, I guess, a little bit. It's a little chassis John tonight.
So here's what I'm finding on in between the old school and the hot rods. A lot of the old school guys are younger people now, like this is in the urban communities. They're buying a lot of the Chevelles, the Impalas, 60s, 70s, and they're hopping them up, man, making them hot rods. Now they still have the ghetto flair, but they're building some motors and drivetrains that run. You know what I mean?
That's the thing that threw me off when you said old school versus hot rod. Because old school, what does that mean exactly?
Well, a lot of the guys like to drive the cars I just mentioned. They call them old schools.
Okay.
In the urban community, old schools are the Impalas.
All right, so it's just an older vehicle. All right.
Yeah, stuff like that. Anything under.
Well, we got a 30-year gap there. We got a 30-year gap there because when you say old school to me, I'm thinking of a 32 Ford.
Well, I'm thinking of a Model A or a Henry J. Gasser.
There we go.
Great axle,
and that's just because of the group that you're in. Now it's funny when I'm on my route and I got the kids on the truck, and I usually make a comment about you're missing 4 cylinders, when they're talking about something.
Yeah.
And they always go into they think an old car is something from the 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I want to define that. And now, we got one of the perfect guys to talk about this with. You can't run.
So, but there's that 30-year gap. But I usually, that's why eventually, unfortunately, when us here go, the younger guys, that's going to be,
right.
That's the new term.
That's natural because, like Paul said, back in the day, I mean, that whole crowd that really ran the A-Bones and stuff like that. I'm not going to say there's not as much because I think there's been a resurgence, but when it was in its heyday, that heyday passed, and then guys of our age came up and kind of looked more towards the 50s cars and the muscle cars. and then everything old is new again, of course. But yeah, everything cycles. I mean, the perfect quote. I had these guys in the show years ago from they're in a Exceeding Limits Truck Club, and they drive mini trucks like Loves and Rangers, and I mean they body drop and they do body and chassis drops on these things. I mean they got to cut holes in the hood because the engine comes through and they're on the ground, And Chris asked them, well, how come you guys do this with these trucks instead of like cars that you like? And the guy said, listen, we're younger than you guys. You have all the cool cars and you're not selling them for any kind of sane price. So we can't buy the Chevelles and the Camaros and the Firebirds. We had to buy what's available. And the light went off in my head and I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly what I was doing when I was 16, 17. I couldn't afford, an A-Bone or a High Boy or a Roadster. I couldn't afford any of those cars or a Phaeton.
Right.
No, I had to get a 65 Chevy, or whatever was around for a couple $100 and I did the same thing that they're doing now. And I said, man, you guys.
In 1985, a Monte Carlo Super Sport was $12,500. A Fox Body GT 50 was $12,000. A Chevy Chevette was $6,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of people that couldn't get the Monte Super Sport or the GT Mustang in the 80s. So they got stuck driving a 76 Pinto. Go back and get those cars now because they can get them. And it goes back to the cars you liked when you were in high school.
Yeah.
So the guy who wanted the 70 Chevelle was the guy who wanted the 70 Chevelle in high school. Now you've defined the definition old school with the guys coming out with the Impalas and whatnot now. What I'm noticing down this way is LS swap.
Yeah.
In the big tires and the big brakes.
I talked about someone about this before, but the LS, like you said, LS. I'm like, yeah, that's the small block Chevy swap of the past. Mm-hmm. Everything got a small block Chevy in it. The Henry J, everything got a small block. Why? Because they were reliable, they were cheap, they were everywhere. And like an LS, you can walk down the block, you get hit on the head with one when they fall out of a tree. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
We have them on trees around here.
It's the same old story. Again, it's just history repeating itself with a different
new model.
Yeah, the names have changed, but the faces are the same this time. It's yeah. But
what you don't see that you used to see a lot of, and it's a dying art, and you just don't see it anymore, and you definitely don't see it on newer vehicles, is some of the customization stuff that used to be done in the early days of hot rodding.
Body stuff, yeah.
The Frenching of the lights, the
antennas,
the antennas,
peaks.
Nobody has chopped the top. Now I'm going to say it tonight. Nobody's chopped the top on a Honda Fit.
No.
Okay.
Good.
So if you look at a Honda Fit, the only thing you could do to it cool would be chop the top.
Or I'd like to see a cube, one of those cubes.
The cubes, I think, would be a cool chop top.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing all this airbag and lowering them thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought about that with like the Ford Flex, kind of more of a boxy car.
The Flex would look really cool.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
so would the SSR.
Right.
Yep. Take a Dodge Caravan and chop it and channel it.
I think if you put enough heat to one of those cars to let it, you'd melt it. I really do. It's not the same metal as it was back in the 50s. Let's face it. We know what
the technology has changed, so you don't have to do it the same way you did it before. You got all these incredible adhesives and sealants from 3M and Duramix and whatnot. Cars are glued together, not welded together, so you could cut and form the sheet metal and chop out the A-pillars and have the glass cut down and glue the thing back together.
You're right. Yeah.
But it would take somebody's initiative to want to do something like that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Justin's shop will be doing that probably in the next year or two.
We already got the PT Cruiser, so who knows?
Yeah. Right.
Now the PT Cruiser, when it came out, I mean that car's been out what 20 years now.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
You know, when the PT Cruiser was first introduced, that had a kind of a cool 44 front nose look to it. So
Right. And even the back. And I looked at one at the New York Auto Show when they had it up on the podium and all. I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? I could see myself driving one of these. And yeah, I'm looking under the hood. I'm like, wow, that's a four-cylinder.
Never mind.
You can't even work on that the
Yeah.
way they
We-
I said, done.
We've got a solution for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
LS.
know you guys made it work. Right.
Oh no, man, 5.7 Hemi.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
a 5.7 Hemi in a PT Cruiser.
Are they rear wheel drive?
No,
Ours is.
Not from the factory, but
Not from the
No.
factory.
Justin's is.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'd like to see how that motor fit, how you actually did it.
I'll have to send you some pictures.
Yeah.
I'll dig through my phone. It's pretty tight.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds
But you
like it.
kept with front placement. Half
Yep.
of it in the passenger compartment, I guess.
It wasn't as bad as we expected. You know, we're still going to put a factory dash and everything in it. I mean, we obviously had to enlarge the trans tunnel quite a bit, but
Yeah.
make it work.
Right. You know, there's a guy I had him on the show quite a lot back then, a guy from Steve's Collision out east. And he did a lot of crazy stuff. Like he took a Volkswagen Beetle and an Impala chassis, and he widened the Beetle body and put it on the Impala chassis with the Chevy drivetrain, and it just looks like this overgrown, like a Beetle that got fat, and it's literally takes up a whole parking space. It's wide. It's really cool. But that was just because he felt like doing it. And then he took a customer's PT Cruiser that was only a couple of years old and didn't do anything mechanically. The guy wanted the reliability. But what he did is he Frenched the lights. He did a lot of the old 50s stuff to it, a lot of the body mods, shaved the door handles, stuff like that. So at first glance, when you looked at the car, it still looked right because the mods were of the era that the car looked like. But when you knew what he did, yeah, he did a lot of body work on this thing, and they should have made the car this way.
well, again, it's a dying talent. Nobody's trying to do it. Nobody's even wanting to take the initiative or be creative to do something like that, or even think of it to go find somebody who does have the talent.
Yeah,
The most they do with any of those newer cars is put fender flares on it, and half those are hacked and just
yeah,
bolt it on. I mean, they don't even really cut the wheel well for a bigger tire. It's just a look, or accessory on there.
right.
I was today. It was kind of a slow day, and I walked through one of my shops, and something caught my eye. They had I don't know what year, maybe a 65. I think it was a 65 Karma Gia, and it was pretty clean. And I was like, man, I'm really surprised with all this retro stuff going on. And when they brought back the Beetle type thing, I'm really surprised they haven't tried to throw a Karma Gia body on top of a car just for that retro look.
Right.
'Cause, that was a neat looking car.
Yeah.
You don't
Real popular.
see a lot of them.
I've seen a few things recently. I missed you at Burtonsville a couple weeks back. I was at Burtonsville,
Oh yeah.
not Sunday, the previous Sunday.
Uh-huh.
I went up and handed out flyers for the upcoming car show. But there was a couple unique cars that came through there, and I'd say between what I saw at Mike and Mel's diner up there 216 the day before, and then at Burtonsville the next day, there were 70 to 90 cars I'd never seen before.
Wow.
There's a lot.
2 days. And now I know a lot of people and a lot of the special interests in the area, But for me to see that many cars that close to me that I'd never seen before, it's kind of impressive. But there was
I'm telling you, Paul, I mean, it is very rare in Burtonsville to see the same things multiple times every week. There's always something new.
Do you think
And
those
that
guys are
comes from
locals,
them.
or they're coming from different places, and that's why you're seeing different?
Well, I mean, like that guy that had that Buick, that 61 or whatever, that 1 year only with that Buick. I mean, that guy lives in Leisure World, and he just heard about Burtonsville and decided to come out one. So, I mean, he's had the car for, when he told me 5, 6, 7, 8 years or whatever, he had that car, and I had never seen that car.
Did you say Leisure World?
Yeah, it's a retirement home. Yeah.
I'm looking up my Leisure.
retirement living.
How far is that from Burtonsville?
That is
10, 12 miles.
10, 12 miles away.
So, in general, though, do you think a lot of these guys are building these cars, or built them over the COVID mess, or they
No.
bought them?
Blank check.
Okay.
Every single person there, not every single person, 90% of the people
All right.
there are blank check people.
Because I noticed that too. At some local cruise nights by me, I'm seeing a lot of cars I never saw before, and they're really nice, done cars. And I'm wondering if these things are being built or if they're being bought. Maybe they're being bought.
But I mean, like I said, I just think, it's very rare. I mean, like I said, you might go 2 weekends in a row seeing most of the same cars, but there's always something new coming through there, and it's something odd also. So I find it amazing how much stuff there really is out there,
Right.
and what people do. Like you said, they it's you got anything from a Rolls Royce with an LS in it, all the way down to some German junk or a Volvo with a 5 liter in it. You know what I'm saying?
Volvo with the 5 liter was a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen more than one of them. That's getting to be almost like, it's almost to the point of like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. Not like, oh wow, look at this.
I got a customer of mine. He's got a BMW with a 5.0 in it, and he's getting ready. He's in the middle of turbo, or he's building the turbo for it. Turbo setup on it, turbos.
I always thought a 2002, the late 60s, early 70s BMW 2002 would be a really cool car to put what to me is the small block Chevrolet.
They don't really have the structure though. A friend of mine has a 68. That's like the last year of the round taillights. And he's rebuilt that thing 3 or 4 times already. It's not a very sturdy body and substructure from what I've seen.
Well, no, there were all those cars of that era from that region of the world were just kind of stamped monocoque design cars.
Exactly.
But just like the Jaguar E-types, those you can put the small blocks in.
Yeah.
Yeah. A buddy of mine just picked up from original owner. What was that? An 87 318 IS.
Oh, wow.
This thing, 5-speed red with a tan interior, and it's like, you saw those cars everywhere back in the day, and now you don't, it's almost like, the old Fox body, 5.0s, they were everywhere, and hell, you can hardly find one. And if you do find one, it's either so butched up to no end that there's nothing really left of it. But,
right.
Well,
it's amazing.
I don't know if you guys remember Funkmaster Flex. He had that TV show, Rolling with Funkmaster Flex.
Yeah.
He posted a video a couple weeks ago, maybe it was a couple months ago, but he was rolling a early 80s convertible BMW with the old style rims, and it was like 4 or 5 of them following him, and they all were clean and just, just brought it almost seemed like they were back in the 80s.
Yeah. The old BBS wheels.
Yeah,
man.
Or Enkies.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to see it. His is convertible. and it was like 4 or 5 of them. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. That stuff. And like I said, you could throw a rock and hit about 5 of them, and now you're lucky if you can even find
Hard to
anything
find.
for them. I don't know where they all disappeared, but I do know for a fact that's like when I was at the dealer. Of course, this was 20 years ago, and we were doing all the conversions from taking the US stuff off and putting the Euro stuff on. Euro lights and trim and this and that, and I had a pile of the US stuff, and it's like, you tell the customer, do you want it back? He goes, no, throw that garbage away. Well, I took it all home, put it on eBay, and it all went back to Germany. We had the guys over there because they wanted to put the USA stuff on, and here we are taking plastic off to put glass on, and they're taking glass off to put plastic on. It's
crazy.
It's crazy stuff.
That's wild.
And,
that when worlds collide like that, where each entity wants the other guy's stuff, for the same reason.
Yeah,
it's just logic.
Because they had the Euro stuff had tenant light, the tenant lights, the lights were blacked out where they were unapproved in the States.
Right.
And
there was a lot of things in the 70s, I believe, is when it started, between Europe and the United States with car manufacturers and the US DOT. And there's still to this day certain cars that cannot come into the United States without certain exemptions and whatnot. And they found loopholes in that. And the loopholes were coming through Canada. And apparently there was, with the Ferraris especially, there was this, what they called the gray market.
Oh, yeah. The Germans had the same thing, gray market cars.
And that got you around the US DOT. But there was a lot of things with the US DOT that if it didn't meet, it could still get a certain amount of cars in. It was 99 years ago was the number that they could import in. And that goes back to a car called the Spiker. I think they came from Sweden. So apparently there are 99 Spikers in the United States, because the US DOT would sign off on 99, but no more without them meeting the, crash test and EPA and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. We had a military guy that he traveled throughout, or he was stationed all over Europe, and he'd find cars and ship them back to the dealership. And they were, these gray market cars or whatever. And it was always interesting to see what would come or what would show up in your doorstep with those cars. So those were the good old days.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call it an
client sent me
evening.
to.
I'm gonna call it an evening.
All right, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thank
Hi,
you for
Paul.
having
Good
me.
seeing you.
Yeah, man.
Be in
Yeah,
touch.
Paul,
See you up in Burtonsville one time.
Yeah, please. That'll be great. It'll be awesome.
All right. Take care, guys.
So long, Paul.
All right, Paul. So I had a client sent me to the Boston ports to pick up a vehicle from India, and I went down there with the paperwork. I showed the port. They was like, "Man, you can't take that car." I was like, "Why?" It's like, "Oh, the DOT got it hemmed up. It's not legal here in the United States." So I called the guy. I don't want to say his name because he ended up getting the car a different way, but I don't want to say his name. Celebrity. So he says, he starts laughing. He goes, "Yeah, I was trying to get it in." He goes, "Okay, come on back. I'll pay you." So he paid me. And I want to say about 2 months later, maybe 3, he sends me back down to get the same car. But what he did is they sent the car back. They pulled the motor and everything out of it and sent it in boxes. And then sent the body back over. So I went and picked up the body. Yep. And it was I think it was 1 out of 10 that they made from India, or I think it was India, somewhere like that. And the seat was one seat in the middle of the car. Like he would be sitting on top of transmission.
Yeah.
It was
What kind
pretty
of
slick
cars
though.
are made in India? Like, what car brand is there?
I think they only made 10 cars. Maybe it was a trial thing, or I don't know what it was, but whatever the motor, they wouldn't let it in here. It was, I guess it was dangerous. I don't know. But he had to have it. Because,
Probably had a goat power in it. Like,
I don't know, man.
An
but he
actual
had to
goat.
have it.
Yeah, no, it was yeah, the that's why some of those during that time period, early 80s, that's why a lot of those Euro cars had those little stupid bumperettes on them because they didn't have, crash bumpers or, the bumpers on it. They had to have those little bumperettes on them for impact reasons, for DOT specs or whatever.
Right.
And it's like I said, we used to get a lot of those gray market cars in, and you'd have to hang air pumps on them or whatever, and it was always kind of comical to see what came through the port and how it came through. Like you were saying, Lewis. So,
And then there's the topic of people's perception of what their cars are worth.
oh yeah,
From the shop, the guy that owns the shop got a call. One of his friends is a roofer, and he says, "Hey, I was up at this house on the North Shore of Long Island, which is like expensive. And I mean, it's like the Hamptons with Long Island Sound instead of the beach. It's ridiculous. A lot of celebrities, a lot of big money up there." So he said, "Yeah, the lady has this an old caddy, and it was in the garage forever. And how old? Well, I don't know. And it's a '75 Caddy sedan DeVille is what it was. We went up there to look at it. I mean, you're up in it's like the houses have, usually there's like a pen with horses in them, by the road. Like, this is where the money is, man.
Yeah.
And then you get off that road onto a second road, and it's just trees and bushes, and that's kind of secluded. But then you turn again, and now you're actually on another road, which ends up being the driveway. But you got to drive that, and then you go up and around, and then you see the house. Talk about secluded. So it ends up this woman's in her 70s. It was her mom's car. She passed away 2 years ago. Original owner. Car been garaged its whole life. Only the last 2 years it's been out because they sold the house. Last inspected in '98. Just to make a perfect bookend for your Lincoln, about the same size. Sedan DeVille. It's that light blue vinyl top, blue interior, 500 cubic inch motor. And I was telling her gardener who was hanging around, that's the funniest thing when you talk to guys who think they know about cars, and they're going to talk to you because they know you do know about cars, and they want to. I don't think they want to really impress you with what they know. They just want you to know that they know stuff, and they don't know jack shit.
I want you to know that they think they know stuff.
Yeah, because I was telling him, I'm looking. I said, "Hey, is this a 472 or 500?" He's like, "Oh, gee, I don't know." So we're looking at the sticker under the hood, and he puts his finger right on the timing specs, and he's like, "No, I don't see it." I'm like, "Dude, you're looking at the tune-up specs. The number's over here. It's a 500." He goes, "Wow, I had a car with a 458 or 468 or something. It was an Oldsmobile." I'm like, "Oh, really? Huh? Okay." To do wheelies.
On dirt.
Yeah, his whole conception of cars was off. Like, his buddy had a car with I don't know, like a 350 Hemi in it. I mean, it just, man, oh, that car was quick. And you guys tell me I had a Trans Am that was really, really fast. He says, yeah, the car was like, it was all over the road. I had bald tires, but it was like, yeah, you couldn't control it. I was like, what year was the Trans Am? Oh, it was in '80. I'm like, oh, really?
Really slow. The 142 horsepower, right?
Yeah, my friend had one too, but he had like a supercharger in the front end. He had nitro in the rear. I'm like, oh, nitro in the rear. There you go.
Plumbed right into the diff.
So it was kind of funny. Ended up, he didn't get the car, but she told us there was another one. The roofer told us there's an old sports car under a cover, and it's got bumperettes. That's what made me remind us.
Oh, yeah.
So he's asking me, what cars, what sports cars had bumperettes? Like a lot of them did. Well, no, what this was is an Excalibur. And it's
Oh.
under a blue tarp, not a cover. And this woman, like, it was her husband's car, and he said, "Yeah." She says, "This thing is like mint. It's worth a lot of money." I'm like, well, no, Excaliburs aren't really. If it's an original Excalibur, yeah, but if it's a kit car built on, a T-Bird chassis and engine, it's not really worth that whole hell of a lot of money. But we didn't go into that. So again, when you deal with people who think they know what they're talking about and they're not, you have to kind of have a whole nother vocabulary ready to just kind of.
Oh yeah, that's like
All
I
the
love
time.
that Will Ferrell movie. Was it?
Elf.
No. Grown. What was that movie? Damn, I just slipped my mind. But he had the Firebird, the Pontiac, and he called it the Red Dragon. And he was
Oh.
getting it back together. And he said, "Don't tell anybody. I put the restrictor plate on it." And I was like, he was going on about all this stuff.
She's
But,
not
what
exactly
was it,
street
Grown Up?
legal.
Was it? No, what Grown
What
Up?
is that?
I don't think I ever saw that movie.
It was he gets married. He gets married to his wife, and of course she's uppity up, and they're in this neighborhood, and he's playing like White Snake or something, 10,000 octaves, and he's got this
Old school.
Pontiac. Old school, yeah, that's what it is. And he's like trying to get. It's got like three broken exhaust, manifolds. It's popping and banging and making all this racket, and he's talking about getting the Red Dragon out and don't tell anybody, but he got the restrictor plate on it and this and that. And I'm like, it's just the funniest damn thing.
That's when these guys that write the movies, the writers, it's their fault because they'll pick up. I don't know where they scour to get vocabulary from, but they'll choose stuff that's just sometimes so wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes it funny to a car guy. Most people, a lot of people are just like, okay, why are you laughing? And you're like, dude, if you understood what was going on, then it would be funny. But
putting dual hydramatics on it, I'm gonna have
That's funny.
yeah, that was a good movie. I laugh. That's every time that part comes on, I gotta stop everything and we gotta turn it up, and I just laugh.
That's funny.
Don't tell anybody I put the restrictor plate on it.
Not exactly street legal.
Yeah,
That is a good one.
yeah.
So
Classic.
Louis, I gotta tell you something. I did something today that I think I may regret.
Uh-oh.
You're always scouting guests for the show, right? So I was scouting. I noticed on Twitter there's this guy, and he's always dealing with Pontiacs, and his Twitter name has GTO in the title. And he was at the GTOAA Nationals. He goes to a lot of the big shows, and he's always putting up a lot of pictures. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've been looking at his stuff for months now. So he just said he left the GTOAA Nationals, and he's going to another one of the Nationals in Texas or something. I'm like, wow, this guy is traveling around. So I sent him a message today. I said, hey, listen, I see you're into goats. I said, yeah, I'm a long-time Pontiac guy. You want to come on the show and talk about Pontiacs? And he wasn't sure. And this guy's been messaging me all day. He's like, oh, I may ramble too much. I don't know. I said, listen, dude, I think we need to have a phone call, and we got to talk first. So we could learn a little bit about it. I finally got him. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I may go on too long. I said, listen, I'm a professional. I know how to moderate a conversation. I said, if you go long, I know how to stop you. Trust me. And
With a dump button.
slide down. You put the slide down on the pot. And he's on. So he just confirmed. We're going to call him tomorrow. We're going to see. Did I make a mistake? Like,
you know what?
Cold call.
He's going to end up being a great interview.
We'll see.
Yep.
Or your typical, you're just going to get on there and you're going to have to force everything out of them.
Right. That's the story I tell all the time. It's years ago. It's almost 20 years ago. I have a friend who used to work with him, and the guy knows machining. He was a machinist when we worked together. He knows motorcycles and cars and music. He knows woodwork. The guy pretty much knows a little something about everything. He's one of those guys. And he'll freely talk about it. We get him in the studio. We talk beforehand. We're having a good time. And I said, okay, just, hang on a minute. We got to open the show, and then we'll introduce you. So we did. Went to the show, introduce him, Neil, and Mike is hot, and he just went, literally, And Chris potted him down. He never said a word the whole show. He just sat there like deer in the headlights. And after the show, he was like, is it over? Like, yeah, it's over. It's
Yeah,
over.
some people are like that.
And then he started talking. I was like, man, it's not like the camera went on you or anything. It's just a microphone.
That's when you got to video. You got to record them pre-hand. You got to have like the 15-minute segment beforehand, and just in case you can just go to the audio, go to the tape.
You know, this is a guy. For a while, luckily it stopped. He would call me up, and like that was like in the early days of cell phones, where I think if you called, you had to call after 9 to get a cheaper rate with the cell minutes or something.
Oh yeah.
So he would call like 9:01, the phone would ring. I'd say okay, so I pick it up, and usually, and this guy he's divorced, and he lived like a bachelor. You know, he'd go to the supermarket and buy the cheapest breakfast tacos, breakfast burritos he could buy, the store brand beer. He smoked the store brand cigarettes. Everything was like the cheapest he could get. And he had money. So 9:01, he'd call, and that's back when Monster Garage was on, and then Jesse James had his other show when he was doing his stuff. And he usually had half a snoot on, and he would start with, he'd throw something out. And it could be about machining, or it could have been about, wood blades for a wood saw. It could have been some motorcycles. He would just throw this thing out, and then we would just spiritedly debate or argue, if you will, for about an hour or so. And we'd go at it. We'd go back and forth, really, getting hot and heavy. And then we'd be like, all right, listen, one of us would say, listen, I'm tired. I had enough. Okay, cool. I'll call you. Got to talk to you again later. Okay, great. See you. We fight like dogs, and then we would part friends. And there was some nights he would call, and I'd just pick it up and say, listen, not tonight. You need something? So if you don't, no, we're not doing this. Okay, yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll catch you again later. Like, okay, see you. So he had no problem talking,
Yeah.
but put him in the studio.
Hey, KJ, I talked to him earlier, and he said to tell everybody hi. And he's going to come back on the show as soon as he gets off his epic vacation. I don't know if you guys are following him on Instagram, but he's traveling all over the place.
Oh no, really? Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he's bouncing. But he said he's going to get on when he gets back and settles down a little bit.
Okay.
So let me tell everybody hi.
That'd be nice. Excellent.
Yeah, I talked to a couple other names. I'm getting back into the booking, getting ramped up again because for next year. They're starting to call me again, like the event planners. So I'm guessing they're getting some money now because, man, they were in trouble.
Good.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff's getting ramped up. So,
That's good.
looking good.
Excellent. Good
I
news.
need to make some money so I can finish my bus.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure does take some money, that's for sure.
And the killer thing is, I'm going to be $40,000 cheaper than buying an RV.
Right. Right.
I'll have
Nothing wrong with that.
20,000 in it and out the door, and I'll be
Right.
and it'd be the way I want it and built strong. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's a great, great platform. I mean, you may not be quite as comfortable as Tyler in the thing, going down the highway, but you can smile knowing you got that dough in your pocket.
Hey, I'm gonna try to get some air ride, man, because I'm telling you what, his bus drives like a car. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And his air seat was broke, like they had it blocked off where there's no air in the seat, and it still rode beautiful.
Well, had the suspension, yeah.
Oh my god, man! I was like, this thing is cruising. Yep.
Yeah, that's a big improvement that's worth making. It really is. That's money well spent.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So it all depends on what happens. I might go to the junkyard or I might order that whole kit. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you were talking about that kit last week. Yeah, nothing wrong with the junkyard, but at least with someone standing behind it if there's a problem.
Yeah.
I'll
probably go that route. Stacy David hooked me up with the guy, so
bag the bus.
Say again?
Bag the bus.
Yeah, bag
the bus.
Yeah, buddy.
I like to do the front too, so I can put it on the ground when I'm parked and put it in the dirt.
Oh, that would be sweet.
Yeah.
Pull up on that thing and just drop it.
Yeah.
So when you step out, you don't have a step, right?
Yeah. Because, man, I got to run and jump in it now.
You better make sure you get a nice long flat grade, because any rock in the way, you'll be sitting on top of whatever is in the road.
Well, another thing too with the airbags, I'll be able to level it out easier.
Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know.
I'm sure somebody makes like a level ride system.
Oh, they do. They do.
With so there's sensors. It's not hard to do. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them in the cars. I had them in a couple of my cars. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and they make them. It all depends on how much money you want to spend. They make everything.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to get off here because these bugs are getting at me again, and I'm
You're
tired.
getting wing things flying by you, man. Those
Yeah, you see them?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Minutes ago, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it might carry me away.
right.
I'm not sure if it was a bug or a bird.
Yeah.
Bug. Oh, here he's right here.
There he
Where'd
was.
go? He's on my computer.
Oh, great.
Yeah, now you're going to carry him inside the house. Good luck.
Nah, I'm gonna blow him off for you before I go in. Okay. I'll talk to who do I talk to? So I've been talking to a whole bunch of people. I talked to Shag, so I'm gonna try to get him on the show too.
Cool.
My Iron Resurrections.
Nice.
So everybody's really busy right now. That's the problem. The summertime they're hitting car shows and stuff. But
Yeah.
as soon as, and I think I'm gonna have it'll be our 8th anniversary in September.
Wow.
Right.
So
Where'd that go?
Yeah, I know, right? So I'm gonna try to put together a whole bunch of people that's been on the show, past guests, and do maybe a 2-hour, have them come on for 5 or 10 minutes each, at the same night.
Or you could be really, really creative and just go back to the past shows and take clips out and make a compilation show. And we can even narrate it in between. Like we do at the Mother's Day show. We do narration in between the recorded bits.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But that's a lot of work. It really is.
Yeah, but I think it's worth it.
You may not be able to line up a lot of people. That's the thing. You got to have they got to come back all the same day. That could be tough. And then you got to stage it. It's like you need a green room. Like, okay, you're next, then you're next. Right? Hey, don't go anywhere. You're coming up in two bits.
Yeah.
You need a
that might be a good idea, right? I'm looking into that. That might be the way to go.
All right.
But I was looking back, man. We had a lot of people come through here. 8 years is.
I got them all in here. I got them in here back to. I started keeping track in 2017.
Yeah. So yeah, I got a lot of content. Just got to play around with it. Yep.
All right. Very good.
So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. And I think it's September 10th is the anniversary. But let me see. Is that a Thursday?
I think that's a Saturday.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something on the 15th. That'll be Thursday the 15th.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you guys think anything, let me know.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it in the next couple of weeks.
And we're always looking for guests in and out. Do what I did. Look through your social media and hit somebody up who you haven't talked to and say, "Hey, I'd like to come on a show."
Yeah.
I'll let you know how this works out.
Yeah. Let me know if I should do it.
I don't know what's gonna happen with this guy, but we'll find out.
It's gonna be a good one, Ray. I believe he's gonna come in on it.
I hope so. He's good at taking pictures. Let's see if he's good about talking about him. I don't know.
Yeah. Just let him talk about himself. That usually works.
Right. Well, I'll go back to the fallback question. What are you driving now? What did you drive in high school? One of those two questions usually elicits a good response.
Yeah,
But like,
sets
if
them
you're
off.
driving a minivan now and had a Pinto in high school, we're screwed.
Yeah.
That happened too. Guys say, "Oh, I never really had nice cars. My friends did." Like, okay. Did you
Yeah.
work on them? No. Oh, you were the guy that got the beer you went and got the beer and the pizza. Okay.
Yeah. Not them.
Everybody has a place.
All right, guys. Hey, where's Papa Squirrel?
He was here earlier, and then he said he had a bad
Had a
connection.
bad connection.
Oh,
I had to
did he?
go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I gotta keep my
It's
eye on him, man. He makes me nervous sometimes. He come up missing. I'll be worried about him
Right.
because he's prone to fall and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep an eye on him. Okay, guys, I appreciate you. I'll talk to you next
Hey,
week.
Louis.
And if you
Yeah.
see anything good, hit me up.
We'll
Yeah,
do.
man.
Okay.
Take care,
All
Louis.
right.
See ya.
Later.
All right. So, Brian, I got a Matco bone to pick with you.
Oh, please.
Speaking of,
It's not your fault. You're just the guy that works for the company. I forgot all about it. That I had this. My daughter bought for me a couple of years ago. This Blake. I should have brought him in. I meant to bring him in, and I forgot. It's the Blake brake bleeder wrenches with the hose. They're double sided. I think it's a 7/16, 3/8, and an 8 and 10. And it's a little ratchet wrench.
Yeah. Did she buy two of them or one? Because it's only. I thought it was only one in a box. I mean,
Those
one
two
side.
were in the box with the hose.
Okay.
But my problem is with the box
The
because
box. It was paper.
it's like freaking bamboo. It's like when you get a box from China and you feel that cardboard. This isn't American cardboard. This is that light. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
And you got to put the flaps in. I'm like, you know what? I haven't been using these, but if I want to start using them, and it's like this box is going to fall apart. Why couldn't they put these in a nice blow molded plastic box?
Because of.
Yeah, you
the
know what?
monies.
Bull. So now I got to keep my eyes out for a little box that I can transfer them into.
Okay, I can take care of that for you, Ray.
All right, throw that in my box then. Okay, good.
And
you
I gotta ship your box off.
All right.
Okay, and you want those scrapers too, right? I got a
Yeah.
set on the truck. Those
Okay.
are really nice scrapers.
Yeah.
Just talking about nice Matco tools. I got my screwdriver there.
Your
Monday.
blue ones?
It's not a blue one. Mine is that fluorescent green, but that
yeah.
marine screwdriver.
Oh, you got the marine one, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Justin, the first carburetor you do, you're gonna smile and you're gonna love it.
I went to the carburetor drawer and he just like grabbed a little seat and like put it in there. I'm just like, yeah, this is gonna be perfect.
Yep,
Oh man, the thing's awesome.
it is. Yeah. See, that's like, I talk to people all the time about tools, and we talk about specialty tools. I say, yeah, everybody's got their core tools, and now there's variations of the core tool, which are, with the ratchet wrenches, and all. There's a lot of stuff. I said, but when you get to the specialty tools, those are the ones that you're really, really careful about lending out because, it's like you want to get it back. And the specialty tools really make or break whatever job that they were made for. And that screwdriver, when I got mine, I was like, how have I been doing carburetors for 45 years? Like, yeah, I know how. I've been, trying not to chip the seat,
Right.
how I did it. But yeah, it's such a joy. It's you're gonna like that. Is it a different color handle than your screwdrivers?
I don't have any of the Matco screwdrivers. My toolbox looks like a bag of Skittles. For my Matco tools, like I've literally got the maroon color for my two air tools. I've got a green set of picks, an orange set of files. I'm all over the place.
Right.
You would see. I would love you as my customer because I want to have this moment of talking you off the edge because the replacement screwdriver is a tint shade different color red, and it doesn't match the rest now. So I usually tell the person, look, I'm going to walk out to the truck, and I want you to break all your other ones so that I can change them for
Just
you.
right, all of them.
That makes
Yeah,
it easy.
I'm not
So
that guy.
I mean, that will will keep you. But then what usually happens, you know how they come in that little case holder, holder thing. Now the new ones won't fit in there, and of course the new ones don't come with that because times change. So
Well, and I was explaining to somebody how the tool companies are all screwing us by making the tools in the foam things fit in only the newer toolboxes, not the old toolboxes like guys like me have.
yeah.
So now we either got to take it out of there or buy a new toolbox. So it's a conspiracy.
I thought I had one of those fluorescent screwdrivers. Not the marine one, but the new fluorescent color. That's a bright green.
That's
So
what mine is. I do
Yeah.
like that color.
I have just all the old school green ones.
I think the only thing I don't have is the blue yet.
No blue yet?
Not yet.
It was funny. One of my customers, he had his son with him, and he's, I don't know how old he is now. I think 12, maybe. But he's old. He's during the summertime, he's always been in the shop, and so it was funny. He goes, "Oh, it's Mr. Bryan's here." He goes, "I want to go out to the truck," And I was his dad was like, "All right, go on." He comes out. He goes, "I'm going to buy a tool today." And I said, "You really?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm buying a tool." And I said, "What does your dad know about it?" He goes, "It's okay. He told me I could buy a tool." So he walks over, and I finally got my blue screwdriver set in, and he goes, "Man, I like this." And he picks it up, and he goes, "So how much is this?" And I said, "It's about $200." And he's like, $200? And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "So how's this work?"
Well, you take that with you, but you give me $200 first.
I said, he goes, "Well, go ahead and put it on my dad's account."
Yeah,
I was
there you
like,
go.
"Yeah, well, why don't we get your dad out here and ask him?"
Right.
So his dad comes out, and we're talking. He goes, "What did you want to show me?" He goes, "I want my own set of screwdrivers like this." he goes, "I don't think so."
Yeah.
I was like, "Go ahead, kid, take them." I mean, it's like
That's cool.
I mean, it was just funny though when he said, "How's this work now?"
Yeah. Well, he's thinking.
So it was kind of funny, but it's after the 20 years and seeing these kids grow up and having the it's really quite amazing, or that feeling about having that. So
yeah, that's cool.
I've had a few of those kids, and like I said, I'm like, man, if I stick around, it's pretty soon this kid will be in here,
Right.
He'll get that screwdriver
He'll
set.
be a customer.
Yeah, he will. So, but he goes, "You gonna be here next week?" I said, "I'm here every Thursday."
Uh-huh.
So,
Like
it was
clockwork.
funny. Yeah.
And you still got guys out? Yeah, I'm sure you probably got a lot of guys out on vacation still, huh?
Oh yeah, man, it's crazy. That's
why you're having light days.
This whole week, I mean, I'm really hoping that this isn't going to go into. Usually 2 weeks before school starts, it really drops off.
Yeah.
Our school starts here in August. The last week of August.
Right.
So I'm kind of hoping that they're taking their little vacation thing a little earlier, and then when we get into August, it's going to be back to whatever normal is supposed to be, but back. I hope it's not.
Looks like you picked a bad time to order 3 toolboxes, 2 AC machines, and a couple of battery.
No, well, actually, when this was all ordered, this was several months ago, which would have been fine.
Right.
But they seem to want to whatever everybody's excuse about shipping stuff or order stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little late.
Yeah.
So
I got 18 miles to the gallon on EFJ this week. 18.
Oh.
It's a new milestone.
Well, you got it pumped up to what, 43 pounds of air in that thing?
No, I'm just running 37. 37.
You turning it off going downhill?
No, I have been coasting. No, I actually did a little more highway driving. I was able to go.
Shut it right down.
Hey, listen, any question like that is valid. I mean, but I do coast a lot more. Like looking at the lights and slowing down, sooner and trying to time the lights so you don't have to stop. Stuff like that. But,
it's like the old tool truck I could turn off and coast. The new one you can't do it because if you try to start it up, the speed sensor throws everything in whack, and it won't go into gear until it slows down to the right speed.
Well, that was like this Gardner guy I was talking to at the Caddy. At one point, we brought the FJ over to jumpstart the Caddy, and he's looking. He goes, "Wow, this thing is pretty cool looking." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's one of those vehicles. You either love it or you hate it." He goes, "What's?" And he says Toyota across the grill. So he goes, "What is this? A Toyota Jeep?" I was like, "Yeah, Toyota Jeep." Yeah. It's like I'm not even gonna argue with them.
It's a Toyota Commando.
Yeah. Whatever you say.
Yeah.
I said, it's a Toyota Jeep. They put a Hummer interior in it. He's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, go take a look. And I open the door, and he's looking. He's like, wow, man, this thing really is like looks like military. I'm like, yeah, I tell you, put a Hummer interior in it. It's now let me talk to him, And he bought it. Talking about he was in the Marines and he's done this and that and a lot of stuff. And then, and then he tells me, I wanted to ask him how old he was because he looked kind of craggly. I guess being a gardener, he's out in the sun all day. And what did he say? I think he was born in 1963. I'm like, oh, really? I said, I thought you were older. But you're not. But, yeah.
It's crazy.
Hey, guys, it's time for me to bail. I got to get to bed.
Okay, Jim. Easy, man. Easy.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Yeah. That's my bedtime already.
Oh, man.
We'll hold down the fort.
Don't worry.
Take care, guys. See you next
We got a few hours.
See you, man.
All right, so long, Jim. But, that's why I left the shop early today. I wanted to get in there so I could get out early. And they go, hey, you're leaving already? I'm like, yeah, I got to get. I said, look, this is my late night. I said, it's my late night, and I'm overheated already, so I got to go home. I got to hit the pool. I have to eat something for dinner. I said, and I got to get a nap in. I said, because, we're going late. And they're like, people just don't understand that. I'm like, huh? Yeah. I said, it's okay because I get to sleep tomorrow.
There you go.
Get to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing like the afternoon nap, man. That is the shit. That's nice. Good stuff. Come to think of it, like I mentioned, that Matco uses a lot of brown bamboo boxes. A lot of stuff comes in brown boxes.
A lot of them are.
You got a whole shitload behind you, but yeah.
Yeah, they. That was. I can't remember what we had. We had. It was the ignition spark tester kit, and it came in this. In the box. And of course, after about 7.5 uses, the box falls apart and the guys are chasing stuff around. Right. And the only reason why I said that was because we had a tire plug kit that had a nice box. And of course, a lot of guys I'd sell them the tire plug kit, and they just grab the tools and the plugs and walk off the truck. They don't want the box.
Oh yeah.
So I have a ton of those boxes, and then of course, when guys said, "Hey, do you have anything I can keep us all together?"
Yeah.
Tire plug kit box, and
See, I like to keep that original box. I like to have that because that has the part number on it.
right,
So now I know if I ever want to reorder it or somebody asks me, hey,
yeah,
how can I get one? I can just, give them the part number, take a picture of it. So
that's why you kind of I've
label
gotten
for it, the
better.
box sucks.
Huh? Well, I've gotten better, I guess, in my old age. But now I at least
Right.
write everything down on it,
That's good. Right.
so that way,
I
because
think-
like I said, huh?
At the shop, since they do the body work and all, they always have that. There's like yellow, blue, and green tape that they use for everything. I think they just
Yeah.
stick it on the cars, or they know they got to fix. So I got a couple rolls of that, and I'll take a piece of that tape and I'll write on that. Now it stands out. It's nice
Yeah.
and bright. But,
So our shop's littered with that kind of stuff. There's tape here, tape there. All the paint code for this car is on the windshield, and
right.
Yeah, I have. I did the same thing between the yellow and the blue masking tape. It depends on the color of the box, what if it gets the tape.
So Justin, going back to the beginning of this whole tirade, what are your favorite methods for brake bleeding?
well, we actually got a new tool in a little while back. It was one of those air deals. You hook shop air up to it, crack a bleeder. That thing seems to work pretty decent. Kind of learning how to use that.
I have one of those. I found it not to cut you off, but not every method doesn't work on every car. The car just wants something different. And that the one I have is a Mighty Vac tool. They used to make one called a Vacula. That was the first one. I think it was a company in Sweden. And when I went looking for it, it was off the market right there. It's gone. I was talking to you about it, Brian, probably about a year or two ago. So I got this Mighty Vac one, and the theory is good. You can also use it as a transfer pump. You can suck fluid out or whatever.
Right.
The problem is you have to unscrew the big container. I like the one Matco has where there's a port in the top so you can dump it out. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours has that too. But yeah, I mean, some cars that, like the last one, it was that 66 Chevelle. Yeah, seemed to work great. Suck as much as you could through, and then throw a guy up in the air in the hoist, and all right, pump it a couple times, a little bit on each wheel, and it's done.
Okay, so you still follow up with the pump and dump. That's
Yeah.
the most reliable method.
It's funny. Like I said, you spend all the money, you go through all that stuff, and you still say, "Hey, I need you for 5 minutes," and they look at you like, "What the hell?" But it's being 100%.
But at least like with that one, the putting the vacuum on it first, I need him for 5 minutes instead of 15 minutes.
Right. Well, like I said before, I use my Mighty Vac hand pumps too. And I'll tell you something. I have a Harbor Freight. It's I think Central Pneumatic is on the dial. And the damn thing, it's a metal pump, and it's got a brass body. It is one of the best deals that Harbor Freight. I've had like 2 or 3 of them already. I'm going to go buy another one just to have it in stock because it was only like $20-something.
Yeah.
I said, that thing is like one of the best reliable vacuum pumps I've used. It's phenomenal, just phenomenal.
Yep.
Yeah, they do have some. If you know what you're looking for, they actually have a couple things there that are worth buying.
Oh yeah.
That's one of them. I pulled the when I put all the brakes back on the Mustang. I took of course, had the front drum, which is the hub and drum assembly, and I took out the bearings, knocked out the races, put in new parts. But now I was going through. It was like an archaeological dig because I saw the first layer of wheel bearing grease. Then I had my punch, so I'm digging in. I got the second layer that was darker. Then I got to a layer that was white lithium grease.
Oh my goodness.
Who works on these cars? I mean, like that inside layer was just thick white lithium. I was like, on a wheel bearing, really? But I tell you, people do the damnedest things.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Holy
see it all the time.
Now,
Yeah.
that's another question I have. I have an automatic bearing packer. I think it's called the Easy Squeeze. I've had it for 25 something years. So, are you familiar with that, Justin? With that tool?
Yeah, I think that's the one with it's got the canister and you. Yeah, we have one.
And you just put there's like a tapered top. You put on your push. Well, it's to the point where I put it in a vise and I squeeze.
Mhm.
But now the problem is I'm getting to the bottom again, and to refill it, it's like almost impossible to get that disc out because it's got a hydraulic seal on it now with the grease,
Mhm.
and there's no air under it.
You have to rock it.
I was thinking about drilling out the bottom and putting in a Zerk fitting.
Well, on the later ones, they had a Zerk fitting on the top.
Yeah, mine does not have that. Yeah.
On the
That
later
would be
ones,
great.
that had a Zerk, and then that way you could fill it. You just pump it down through the center.
Do you
and
have
fill
one
it.
of those?
Huh?
Do you have
No,
one?
I have the old school. I mean, the ones I sell the Lyle one, and it
Okay.
doesn't have the Zerk fitting, but you have. I have one, and you, like I said, you put the handle on it, and it twists on,
Right.
and you gotta have to
Pain
just
in
kind
the
of rock
ass.
and pull.
I've got one of those. It's like the little hat. You put the bearing on, screw the top on, and then put
right.
the grease gun on.
That's it. Well, yeah. You have a Zerk fitting on yours.
Yeah, but mine's like I said, it's got the little stand and the
Right.
screw top on it.
Yeah, mine doesn't have a Zerk, and I have taken it apart a couple times over the years, but now it's time to do it again. And every time it comes time, I'm like, ugh, what a pain in the ass this is. This thing is just. They should have made an easier way. Like I said, a fitting in the bottom or the fitting on the top is even better.
Yeah.
Because if that shaft that runs down is hollow, put your own Zerk fitting in. Drill and tap a Zerk. It's an probably eighth inch pipe.
The only problem with the being on the top, you gotta make sure it clears your cap that when you push down on it.
Right.
That's the only thing you got to watch out for.
Yeah, like I said, now that I'm getting low, I put the bearing in, put the hat on it, and I turn it sideways. I put it in a vise, and I just turn the vise and let the vise squeeze it. It's like,
Yeah.
Working smarter, not harder.
oh, you know what? It squeezes that grease right through.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
you know,
actually, if you look at the bottom of that, it has the two cutouts for where it's supposed to fit in the vise.
it does have I think it's 2 or 3 raised rib
Yeah.
sections, right? And I put those perpendicular to the vise, so that it's like this. But that made me think of something when I was doing that. It's like the lost art of wheel bearing packing. Now with sealed wheel bearings and hubs, there's a lot of guys probably don't know how to pack a wheel bearing.
Have no idea. That's why you have the white lithium grease.
Right. Good point. I'll tell you, this Mustang had the tiniest outer bearing. It was tiny.
Yeah, A1.
Yeah,
Small,
it was an A1
small.
and an A4.
Yep.
But that A1 is tiny.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Things looking good though.
They drove it around today. We took it out and drove it. It's nice convertible. The 6-cylinder, I tell you, it started, the choke works, came off a choke, put it in gear. Took the danger drive and cruising around with the top down. I'm like, yeah, this is nice.
Those 6s are some of the best running setups.
I mean, yeah, it's nothing special. It's not going to burn up the road, but yeah, it's for what this guy's doing with it. And like you said before, I think it's probably either the car he had in high school or the car he wanted to have in high school or his friend had, and that's probably why he bought it, most likely.
His buddy's mom had one that was hot, and that's the reason why.
I remember back in let's see, my sister was 7 years older than me, so she would have graduated. She graduated high school in '69, but she had a friend who had this is like in '67 or so, had a brand new convertible Mustang.
Mhm.
And occasionally I was the kid, so I would they'd throw me in the back and I'm in the car with like three high school girls, like, hey, this is cool. But of course, the Beach Boys are on the radio and Jan and Dean. It was like those were the days, when the music really fit the car.
Right.
It was, I can remember that like nothing. And my sister, her first car was just a freaking Plymouth Valiant, the one with that spare tire embossed on the trunk, that dopey looking deal.
Oh, yeah.
2 Valiant. But I remember I go, like she was a new driver, so any excuse she could have to go out if my mom needed, bread, milk, or eggs. So I'll go. And I was like, can I go with you? Can I go with you? So I would jump in the car, and the songs that were on the radio back then are still the songs that are like, they just hit me today. Like, they take me right back to being in that car in the, 1967, 68. It was like, wow, good stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Good stuff. Yeah, man.
Good times. Yeah, yesterday, speaking of cars, let's see here. I saw a 5-car pile up. that was interesting. And then down the street, I found there was a Jeep. Was it a Cherokee? That rolled, and they had to cut the top off to get the guy out. It was a very adventurous day and driving through the hood in my area.
Cool.
I tell you, there was a lot of crash them up. I tell you, these people. I tell you, it's super scary now. With people on the road not paying any attention at all.
We saw that this past weekend. We took the family out to the aquarium and stuff like that. And we're driving through town. I'm like, what the heck is that up ahead? Oh, yeah, it's a car on its side.
Yeah.
Right in the intersection.
And I was talking to my buddy of mine that's officer, and that's all he talks about. He said after of course, the whole pandemic and COVID thing, of course, nobody being on the road, everybody was driving around at Mach 1.
Here too.
And he said that, the accidents were just so incredible because it was one car at, Mach 1 or, at whatever speed of light and burning up on re-entry, that it was like, how in the world did that happen? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And now you have a handful of people that still drive like that. But now it's just that you just get a whole bunch. It's like a bumper car session thing out there. It's just,
right.
It's incredible.
That's funny. Last night, I went into the shop. I didn't get in. I had to go out, make a run out east to deliver some food to a friend. My friend's wife just had a hip replacement, so my wife and I went out and made lasagnas and chicken soup and salad. We drove out east. That's how I got the good gas mileage. But I didn't hit the shop till like 2:00. So I'm working, and the guy from the front, he calls me outside. We're talking about something, and then the guy that's there doing the body work, he's like, Ronnie says to him, what? Oh, you going? Is that time already? I look, he's got his backpack on already. I'm like, where the hell are you going? And I look at the clock, like, holy shit, it's 5:00. Like, where'd that time go? So they're all leaving. And then he's like, well, what are you doing? You staying? I'm like, yeah, I'm in the middle of this, man. I'm staying for a while. I'm working. And everybody clears out. So, and I always loved, this is what I told my friend's son, who now runs the big shop, because he was working with me at this small shop for a couple of years. And it was always like in the summer, you'd stay late. Like after the shop would close, you'd stay. And I told him, I said, this is what's really taken me back. This is why I like being here. Because it takes me back to when I was like 19, 20 years old. You'd be in a shop, and after it closes, when you bring your own car in, got to be doing headers or a cam or, changing the rear end gears. And now it's dark out, it's the summer, and, people are cruising by, and your friends would cruise by and see you there. And they'd pull in. Next thing you know, there's like 5 hot rods in front of the place, and, who's getting beer, who's getting the pizza. And they'd be coming and going, doing their own thing, and you're still in there. We're trying to get done. Like, can I get done by 11 tonight? Because now everybody's stopping to bother you. I said, that's what life was like back then. That was like a normal night if you hung out at the shop, especially if it was a Friday or Saturday.
Yeah. I
said, so it's taken me back, and I appreciate that. So that's what it was like. Now here I am. I'm under the Mustang. I got a couple feet off the ground. I'm sitting on the stool, and I'm under the rear wheel, and I'm pumping the bleeder, and and all of a sudden, I sensed there's somebody right there by the shop door. I'm like, and I look, and all I saw was a pair of dress pants and a gold detective's badge on the belt. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, and I look up like, oh, it's my buddy Frank. He's a detective in the local precinct. He's the president of the car club the Centurion Cruises that I'm in. So I'm like, hey, Frank, hey, I've been looking for you. He always looks for me. I said, yeah, I'm not always here, because I saw your car. So it was cool to catch up. I'm like, yeah, I said, first time I'm glad to see a cop, Instead of like, what are you doing here, buddy? The place is closed. No, it's not.
Yeah, but the problem today is, man, when it's 4:58, everybody's gone. There's nobody hanging around anymore doing any of that stuff.
That's what I mean. Now the doors are open, the lights are on, the radio's going.
Yeah, that's like you said, when I turned wrenches or whatever back in the day, man, when the day was over, that's when the real fun started,
Right.
Oh yeah, we had that going on. We had most days.
Then I was telling the guys at the shop today when I came in, I said, you guys always miss it. I said, the best stuff always happens after 5 o'clock. And like, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm sitting there working, and now I see this guy walk up and he kind of wanders into the lot. So there's, a lot in front of the shop. I guess it's maybe 20 feet deep, 25 feet deep. It's wide. And he's walking, and, the bay doors are wide open. He's kind of wandering around. And I'm like, all right, do I ignore him? Let him try the office door. That's locked, then maybe he'll go away. Nah. So I get up and I said, yeah, hi, can I help you? And like, he didn't understand me. I said, can I help you? You need something? He was like, you fix my car. You can fix my car. I'm like, I can fix anybody's car, but that's besides the point. What do you need? He goes, you deal with State Farm. Now, this place where I'm at, it's a body shop. So I said, yeah, they deal with State Farm, all the insurance companies. I said, really, what you got to do is come back in the day and see the guy in the office, and they'll set you up. He's like, no, I just need like the bumper. You fix the bumper. So I'm standing in front of a car that has the bumper off, and I'm like, yeah. I said, they fix bumpers all day long. I said, look, on these the horses, I said, there's like 8 bumpers off of cars. I said, that's all they do. I said, believe me. I said, I don't do that. If I took a bumper off, I'd break it. I said, but that's what these guys do. They do body work. Oh, can you fix on my bumper? I'm like, no, you're missing the point. I said, look, I'm not a body man. I don't do body work. I'm doing mechanical work. You see, I have wrenches. I'm doing mechanical work. And he was like lost in some ether. And I said, hold on. Went in the office. I grabbed the card. I gave him the card. I said, look, you can call if you want. There's another shop, it's a couple towns away. He was like, oh, well, that lit his fuse when he heard that. Oh, I could go there. I'm like, yes, you probably should go there. Go see them and bring your car and tell him you got Allstate. I said, get the hell out of here. So he leaves. Now I'm working again. A few minutes later, I hear something. I hear a bad muffler, not in a good way, just like a blown out muffler. And this SUV parked kind of half in our driveway and half out. I'm like, what the hell's that? I know the stores next door closed, the food places. So then I see this woman walking up, kind of looking around like this, I said, yeah, hi, can I help you? She's like, oh, yeah. I'm hoping you can help me. She goes, can you put a muffler on my car? I said, well, I could put a muffler on your car. I said, but I can't put a muffler on your car. I said, this isn't a muffler shop. I said, if you go down the block, there's a muffler shop right there. I said, we deal with them. Go to the muffler. I said, if you see the Jiffy Lube, you went too far. It's right before that. Oh, thank you. I'm like, so I was telling the guys this, and I said, and if you're there at the end of the month, people always come in. Can you do an inspection?
Yeah, last minute.
No, we're not an inspection station. Sorry. It's like, but all the good stuff always happens. Like, on if I'm there on Saturday or Sunday or after 5, that's the best.
I had a guy today come out, and he's a landscaper. And he goes, can you help me out? And I was like, well, it depends. I don't know. He's like, well, I don't know what you call it in English. I was like, okay. Because I need a thing to make a bearing.
Make a bearing.
And I said, make a bearing. He goes, yeah, you have like this thing. And he's like showing me like this. And he goes, and the bearing.
And
And I'm like, okay, this is way too early in the morning to try to figure this out.
Right.
I said, what kind of bearing are you making? He goes, well, you know, a 5/8 bearing.
Always getting better.
Okay, that's all right.
So now I only have
Never-
the 3/4 bearing maker tool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
3/4 and a half.
I said, well, I don't know if I can really help you out, but you know. So I went back to the truck. I got this guy's receipt, and so he decides to come out to the truck to look around. I like when they come to look around, you know, because he's like, well, maybe I could see something that will, you know, see what I need. I'm just like, oh, whatever, dude.
Look, we got.
So
we got
he's
new
like looking
screwdrivers.
around, and you know, he picks up a socket, and he picks up a socket, and he goes, you know, I need to make the bearing inside here.
Uh-huh.
And I said, are you talking about threads?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, are you putting a bolt in there? You need to tighten up? Yeah. I'm making a bearing.
Whoa.
You're
And I
not,
said,
but okay.
oh, I said, all right, well, you need a tap.
Right.
So I bring out the tap set, and he goes, yeah, that's what I need. He goes, I need one for 5/8. And I said, okay, well, are we talking what
16 or
thread pin?
24.
Yeah, 16, 24, what thread? I don't understand you. And
Yeah.
I said, well, to play it safe, why don't you just buy the whole set? That's $400.
Nice.
That way you have everything there that you need. You know, are you
Two of them.
sure? Is it you know, the Spanish guy, you know, they don't call it the metric system, it's millimeter, you know. Right. So, you know, I says, are you sure it's SAE or metric or millimeter? Yeah, millimeter. No, not millimeter. And I said, oh, so it's SAE.
No.
I don't know. And I'm like,
Yeah. No. I need Whitworth.
I'm like, okay.
I'm working on an MG. I need Whitworth.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, he goes, how about if I take your number and I'll call you when I find out? Yeah, please do. Here.
Oh man.
Wow.
But the diagnose, I mean, you know, talking about trying to diagnose what he's saying to where he's going. I mean, it's like,
that's like without the bumper. I didn't know if he wanted me to fix his bumper, take his bumper off, put a bumper. My car, it's across the street. I'm like, oh, that helps.
yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
But I love that. That was make a bearing. You know, I got to make a bearing.
Make a bearing.
Wow.
I'm
I
Oh
like,
have to use
God,
that
this
one.
guy's pretty talented at making a fucking bearing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you know.
I used to make pillow blocks that bearings would go in, and I used to do that on a lathe. But
Yeah, I was like, wow. So
make a bearing.
make a bearing.
I got to use my bearing driver when I put those races in. You know, that was.
That's about as good. I have a Korean shop, and they speak no English, so everything is drawn. It's a body shop, and everything is drawn out in the body dust on a car. So I said, "What do you need?" And they like draw out the stuff. I'm like, oh, I learned to walk in with a catalog. You know, walk in with a catalog, and that way they can go through.
That was something that always. Once it got posed to me, I said, you know, that's a great question. You know, here in America, we have SAE tools, so everything is in fractions. And our ratchets, you know, 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch. So why would you buy a metric set of sockets so the ratchets in 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2?
Yeah.
Why aren't they in millimeters?
Right.
Like in Europe, did they just adopt 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 as the size of a ratchet? Or are there different ratchets in Europe?
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to know.
That's like we had this problem. Well, we didn't have a problem. I mean, you could get them, but it's like drill bits, you know, because you know, because they would, you know, we would have service action where, you know, you had to drill a 10 millimeter drill hole, you know, so you had to find a 10 millimeter drill bit because, you know, 3/8 isn't really 10 millimeter. You know,
No.
it's close, but it's not. And
That's a very good point. Yeah.
that was like when I blew the power steering line on the tool truck.
That's a personal
And-
problem, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was I blew that the line had rusted. It went through ran down by the frame and came out and
Right.
had a problem. So I called the auto parts store that in our area, and I said, "Hey, do you guys have 10 millimeter steel tubing?" You know, and the guy's like, "Yeah, it says 10 millimeter /3/8." And I said, "Well, that's not, that's not really that close." He goes, "Yeah, well, we got 10 millimeter." So I said, "All right, well, this is where I'm at." And he said, "No problem." I said, "Throw in a handful of compression fittings also, Well, the problem came when I was trying to patch in the line. The 3/8 fittings didn't fit the 10 millimeter line.
Right.
Thank
Right.
God I was in a tool truck because I got the drill and the battery. I mean, I'm out here drilling, the fittings for one end to be on 10 and one end to
Right.
be on 3/8 and
Yeah.
put it all together. I mean, it took me a little bit of time, but it was a big difference. And that's, like I said, it's funny when you run into stuff like that. Oh, it's close enough.
Speaking of drill, one of the things I wanted to do before I let that car go was I put the front to rear line in, and it goes to that metering block on the top, and then it ends up at the rear hose. But in the middle, it goes over the skid plate and all. But there was like one clip to hold it. There was nothing else. They had the other one like zip tied to the fuel line. So I just wanted to drill a couple holes and use those the P clamps with the rubber inside.
Right.
Couldn't find a freaking drill in the shop, and I don't have one there. There were a bunch of battery powered drills. Either they didn't have batteries or they were dead. I found a pneumatic drill in one of the other toolboxes. I'm like, beautiful, but no key for the chuck.
Oh,
I'm like, shit. So okay, I got a hand tight. I used my pair of pliers and tighten it. I kept doing it that way. I'm like, you know what? I know I got a bunch of keys at home. I gotta bring a chuck key in. But like, you drill, get halfway, it's like the drill would stop. Oh shit! But
yeah. Those
take it for granted.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
gonna call it
that's,
a night, guys.
you're like, okay, Justin.
Yeah,
All right, Justin.
we'll catch up with you next week.
Been a pleasure.
Fun filled and
See
exciting.
you.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good night. So yeah, it's always an adventure.
Never a dull moment for sure. Yeah, I was trying to find. I thought it wasn't that long ago. You're talking about that metering block. I found. I mean, I had the one for the Mustang. Just really curious because
Yeah, I'm looking at my diagram, and out of the back of it, there's a port that comes out straight out the back, and that one went. I guess because it was the closest one, they ran it to the hard line that goes over the firewall to the front right wheel, which is obviously wrong, because then right next to it there's a port above and a port below. The one above goes to the rear brake chamber, which is right because that's the wheel that's on that chamber, and the port below it feeds the rear brakes to the back of the car. So that's where the problem is. But the only other port is one on top for the other chamber, the master, and there's another port on the bottom that goes to the front left wheel. So it's almost like you need another T, like come out of the one port, T it to the two fronts.
Right. I am almost sure, or I remember reading something somewhere. I really wish I could find. I mean, I think they only use 3 of those 4 lines.
Okay, I could see the one going to the rear. You'd have to use that.
They would use one to go into the rear, one going back to the rear, and then you had one going to the left side, one going to the right, and there should be one port that's blocked off.
Well, this one only has
It only has 3.
3 outlet ports. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
2 at the bottom, 1 on the back, and the 2 at the top go to the master cylinder and the brake
Yeah.
light switch, which was a piece of crap. So yeah, the one to the
Yeah.
front needs to be a common, and I think it's got to come out of there and then T. To
The only other thing they had back then where you could have, they did have a brake warning. That
Right.
was an option, and they had that for brake fluid warning light or whatever.
Right. Well, this switch had 2 little terminals on top, and at the bottom it was a little brass pintle sticking out, and you could push it up. It had spring pressure. It was pretty tight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like fluid wasn't going to move that. Then again, Ron Francis, I was looking in their catalog because they were saying stuff about brake switches, how most of them leak. And they said they have a low pressure hydraulic brake switch. That's it,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
There. If it was
Yep.
cold. But anyway, that one says high quality switch with a much longer life than previous models. The switch fits most cars and requires only 20 to 50 pounds of pressure to come on rather than 60 to 120 pounds that stock units have. And it's 1/8 pipe, 9/16 18, and it's $30. So, yeah, I don't know. The guy wanted this car back to go to some show or a parade. I got a feeling it'll be coming back, and I want to make sure. But before then, I know how to fix it right.
Yeah.
Because I hate sending it out like that. It's not right.
Yeah.
And it was the last shop that did it, but now we're the last shop that had it.
Right. Well, it's ever since,
Sinju, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, he drove for a week and a half and lost his brakes altogether. So, it was amazing the lack of workmanship that was done.
yeah, it's really of course, like I said, there are days and there are all types of shops that I go into, and it's sometimes I literally will walk in and kind of get a sense of what's going on and kind of walk right back out, because it's, when you see the guy, it was really, I was in a shop, what was it? Wednesday, and the guy's trying to get the brake bleeder off the caliper loose. The caliper, the brake bleeder,
right?
And he's got the torch out,
Ah.
and he's cooking it, and I'm like, okay, you understand that brake fluid burns flameless, or it's a really bad issue. I mean, you got to. And he's like, well, I'm keeping an eye on it. And I'm like, okay, how much you going to do today? And I'll see you guys later. It's.
I remember, actually now tomorrow, it's 18 years I got my Fiat on the road. But when I was tearing that car all apart to rebuild everything, I had the calipers were still on it and the brake hose was on the caliper. I can't remember if the hose was disconnected from the hard line or if the hard line was frozen and the hose was disconnected from the caliper. It was disconnected at one end. And I put some heat on it with a Bernzomatic torch. And the line blew up.
Yeah.
Even with one end open.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't blow. I mean, it wasn't like a huge explosion, but it popped.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
well, I've seen them in shops where, all of a sudden the brake master cylinder, the plastic the plastic
the reservoir
pops like that, and it's a mess. I mean, like I said, and it's a flame, you don't see the flame,
right?
So like I said, I've you see some interesting things, and I always go back to that dumb luck. That's why it never happens. See, if you knew what would happen, that's when you get in trouble. That's why we all survived growing up as a kid, because you didn't know what the circumstances would be until later on. You're like, how lucky. I mean, I was lucky that I'm still walking around, and because that's when they get you. But
I told my kids that many times as they were getting older. We were talking about different things, and I said, "Listen, you got to know that by all rights, I have no business being here. I have no business even having you as kids." What do you mean? I said, "Because I should have been dead when before I was a teenager with the stupid shit that I did." I said it was just from dumb luck, and I guess I had a purpose to be here, so they kept me around. But I said I don't deserve to be.
Yeah, because like I said, you walk in and you see. I usually sometimes will, when I get into a shop, especially any shop really, I usually get in, park the truck, and I'll walk through the shop just to see what people are doing, and that's my plan on what I bring in.
Okay.
That's my, it's what they're doing at the moment. Then I was like, okay, that's going to be the deal of the day. If they're doing something and they don't have the right tool, it's like, hey, we got this on sale. Oh, I'm doing one of those right now. I'll take it. So it's kind of
pretty good. I know the tool trucks by us out here. The guy just pulls up. Maybe he'll walk in, and then you go out to the truck.
Yeah.
And
I'll like I said, if I see a guy fighting, bleeding the brakes, I walk in with one of the brake bleeder things, or seeing a guy use a screwdriver as a chisel, or a punch, we got a deal on punches, it's kind of setting them up,
Oh, no, this is fine. This one works great. No, thanks, Brian. This one's good. And you'll warranty this one if it breaks anyway. So what do I?
That's right. Yeah. It's not supposed to pay attention to you using the tool wrong,
like
but
when you tell the guy, look, hey, I got a deal on brake bleeder. Say, oh, Brian, look, I can't afford that, but can you jump in this car up on the lift and just pump the pedal a few times for me?
If you couldn't afford the tool, you can't afford me. So
yeah.
But like I said, there's some scary things you see and how people get away and what gets out. It's
right.
I watched a guy. He was putting fixing rust in the floorboards of a car for in state inspection, and he's cutting sheet metal up into the shape and using some 3M sealer, sticks it down and runs some sheet metal screws through it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, God, it's like, I mean, how in the world, A, you could do that, and two, just the charge for that, that's just dumbfounding sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why some things get done and some things don't, I guess. I don't know.
You might say, hey, I saw it on TV.
Yep. But the problem is, like you said, when then it has to go someplace, and what you're stuck with trying to clean up is a real mess.
Exactly. Crazy stuff, man. So they're doing the guys at the shop decide to do like cars and coffee on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
They asked me yesterday, can you do a live remote from here Sunday? I'm like, well, no, man, I can't put that together that fast. It's like that ain't gonna happen. Oh, well, you sit right in the office in the window, and you got people come in and bring your car. We'll put it right out in front. I'm like, yeah, well, I can't do that fast. So, but they're gonna try. They figure they'll. I don't know why. I mean, they got plenty. They got cars they can't. They don't have guys to work on them, so it's not like they need more business.
Huh?
I don't know. If anything, it would get me more work. So it would probably be old cars, which would be good. That'd be cool. Oh, that's
crazy.
Thing. I forgot, bleeding those brakes. I'm like, the rear brakes are so easy to bleed on the Mustangs, but the front bleeder valve, it's on an angle, luckily, but like the knuckle is like right there. It's hard to get the right wrench in there, and like, I forgot how tight front drum brakes were to bleed. You usually have architecture in the way.
Yeah.
Damn. I remembered now, though. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess I got to look. I think what I got to look for is the 67. 67 had, because that's what this Master's out of, a 67 dual master drum brake diagram. That's what I need to see. That should
Yeah.
show me how these lines are run.
That, yeah, 67, 67, 68.
67
car.
and 70, I think, was the application.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm talking about car wise,
Right.
67, 68 are, you know, they're the same, very, very, very similar car. I mean, the same
yeah.
car.
I gotta find that. Let's see. My buddy Rick with this, he's got the Mustang too. He had a service manual. Well, his car's a '66 though.
Yeah,
So-
66 and 67, 65 and 66 would be the same.
Right.
Then, you know, it's every 2 years they were basically very similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cars are very similar
Right.
layouts.
When I found that out, by dumb luck, I was like, "You got to be kidding me! Did I just uncover what I think I uncovered?" And I went back and I did it again, but I made a little list, and I was like, "Son of a, that's exactly what I uncovered." This
Yeah.
thing has 3 brakes on one circuit, 1 on the other. Like that thing is plumbed wrong, and of course, it's in just a bad spot to work on. Really.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, it's either too low from the top, or like I said, when you get the car up to do it,
Too high.
too high. It's like in the middle.
So I know the rear brakes are right. The one that goes back to the back, because that line lined right up. That was a new hard line and it lined up. See, that's the thing. I know why they did this, because the line that goes across the firewall, it comes right, it stops right there, and that lines up with that back port on that block. But the back port feeds the rear, it fed the rear brakes. Unless maybe that block is wrong, the combination valve, that may be wrong.
Yeah,
Just because they got it in a kit doesn't mean it was right.
yeah,
Again, now here you go. I don't know whose kit it is. I don't know I know this. I know the booster. We put one in the Mach 1, and he got that from Lead Brakes. It's a company upstate New York. They do a lot of brake conversions, a lot of Ford stuff. They came up, if you look for Ford brake conversions, they're one of the top guys. And as soon as I went to take this one off and my wrench didn't fit, I was like, let me go get a 15 millimeter. Yeah, 15 millimeter nuts. That was the same as on the Mach 1. I'm like, okay, the aftermarket booster had the metric studs in it. So,
so it just had, through the pedal assembly, it just had bolts put in, not the studs that were there.
no, the pedal, no, on the master cylinder side.
Oh.
The 2 studs that the master slides over take 15 millimeter nuts. I didn't take this one out of the car, luckily, because I hate, under the dash of the Mustangs is a horror show.
Yeah,
But the Mach 1, I had that out a couple times.
yeah,
And I think that has 3 nuts and a bolt, if I remember right.
yeah. It sounds right.
3 nuts and a bolt, and they were American. And that's when I used that 24-inch extension through the steering wheel, and I'm all the way back here, like.
Yeah,
And again, I was like laser sighting it, fishing it in, boom, get it. Yeah.
yeah. It's like I said, I that's the crazy part about trying to. I don't even know where. I'm trying to think. What is that? What's that brake company? Ice? Is that Ice? No,
Yeah,
what is
Ice
it?
was a
Ice.
company. Yeah.
I remember. I don't know if I have one of those catalogs, parts catalogs, but they had, all that layout in the back of the books.
I have a Bendix book, and I looked at it.
Bendix, yeah, that was another one. Bendix
shows-
or Ice.
It shows the valves, but it doesn't give you the in and out port. It doesn't tell you where the stuff goes. It just shows you for reference. I was just looking at it tonight.
Oh,
It's an oldie.
yeah.
I'm curious if it has a date. Do we have a date? Dave. Hostage. Jackson, Tennessee.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's a good one. That's
Right. So, and I mean, it's got, you know, it shows you the wheel cylinders,
oh yeah, uh-huh.
and it gives you the description, but it's got all sorts of charts and tables with data. I love books like this.
Yeah.
It's got all the disc brake stuff, shows you all the different piston, you know, how they
Oh yeah.
go
Mhm.
together, come apart. But let's see, drum brakes. Oh, here we go. Yeah, they even have different stoplight switches.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember this Chevy uses the brake warning, the block with the brake warning light.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that one picture there that showed the one next to it, they didn't don't
I got a better one. It's more like this is the combo valve that was in the Monte Carlo, but that's kind of like the valve that's in the Mustang. It's kind of
Yeah.
just like this, you know, it's sort of like that. It's got multi ports. Well, this one has the switch on top like that. They're all variations of a theme. But again, they tell you what was what, but they don't tell you where the out is. You want to know what a really, really good book, if you ever want to do performance stuff, this is like the Bible. This guy, Fred Poon, wrote it. There, look at that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he gets into the real specificities of fluid and composition of pads and rotors. This is where I got all the information on setting up the pedal diameter of my car. They talk about the in here they're talking about the mechanical advantage of which hole to use. I mean, the guy really gets into the nuts and bolts of braking in this book. It's phenomenal read. I think I got that off of used. I think I bought it used off of Amazon because it was out of print. HP Books. That was written in 85.
Man, I really hate when you move stuff around.
Oh, I have to tell you the story. You know, years ago, 25 years ago, I guess, I had a just a regular 1/2-inch tapered reamer. It's a Blue Point. It's in a little plastic bag, a heavy duty plastic bag, and I used to keep it on a pegboard in my garage.
Yeah.
And, that's always where it was. And then one day I was rearranging stuff, maybe making room for tools or whatever. And I said, this reamer should go in like with the drill bits and drilling things, So I put it there. And then you don't use it all the time. Next time I need it, I went right for the pegboard. And of course, it wasn't there. I'm like, damn, where's my reamer?
Yep.
I know I didn't lend it to anybody. Nobody else would have taken it. Where the hell is it? And now I'm looking all over the place. I keep looking back in the same spot it was in, like it's going to magically reappear. And then I think a day or two later, I finally found it in the toolbox. And I was like, makes sense that it's there. But you know what? I took it. I put it back on a pegboard.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, it's
Once it's
funny.
got that memory burned,
Yeah. Oh no, it's funny because, and getting stuff cleaned up and moving stuff and trying to when I moved all that stuff around, and I tell you, I had, like you said, I've had stuff sitting someplace. I'm moving one of my cabinets, and I've moved. I can't find anything now. That I go over to the cabinet, open it up, and I'm like, where did I put it?
Where to go?
Yeah,
I know it's a curse. It's terrible, but we get so used to having stuff where it is. It's.
And I even did the same. I made the same mistake in the tool truck, I found I used to have I don't have one down here, but they were it was a plastic thing that had drawers that opened that didn't slide out, but they tilted out, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I had they were I guess about that big, and they pulled open.
Is there about
and-
like 5 or 6 of them in a row?
yeah, it was 6 of them
I had one
together.
of those in the garage. Yeah.
And they worked great. You know, I wrote on, you know, whatever size socket or bit or adapter or whatever, and I had like 9 of them up against the back wall in the truck under the shelf. You know,
Right.
so when somebody needed something, a clip, a adapter, 8mm, whatever, I had them all in there.
Yeah.
Well, the new truck didn't have that type of space.
Uh-huh.
So I had to put everything in bins, and the bins, you know, sit on the floor behind the little where the cash register or the computer is, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says, dude. Trying to pull out and find which bin, even if I got them taped, marked, written on, dude. It's a effing mess. I don't know what I want to do. So
Now-
somebody will say something, and I was like, "You got to give me a minute. Go back into the shop." And I'll bring it, and I gotta like tear the whole truck up trying to find.
So tell me if your pull-out bins are like mine. Every once in a while, I'll open one of them, and it'll just fall out.
Yeah,
And then when I want to take the thing out, I can't get it out.
yeah. You're just like,
What the hell? Like you fell out the other day, and now I can't get it out. Like what the hell is going on with those dopey things?
yeah. They have like these 2 little pins
Little stops. Yeah.
on the side, and like I have one of them. I mean, a few of them on the truck are broken. I mean, they're broken, so you can literally pull the whole thing out,
Right.
and then to get it back in, you had to kind of fight, you know, tilt it to get it, you know, to fit back in the little track. I don't know who made those. Those things were really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I really they also had like 6-inch ones that were great to put sanding disc in or whatever, you know. I had all that, and I really, like I said, I don't have the room that I had in my old truck, even though it's similar layout or box size.
Yeah. That happens. Yeah.
So God, I can't believe guys are still up. We have our you know, our chat room or whatever, and guys asking. Tell you, man, it's gotten to the point where constantly, luckily we have a pretty big I mean, our group we're pretty decent with everybody, and getting tools from one person to another is just
That's through Matco.
huh
That's through Matco. It's a Matco group.
yeah it's just us distributors,
Right.
you know, and it's pretty good. We had I think it was 3 guys quit or drop out. They're
Wow.
dropping like flies, dude. I had 2 Snap-on guys quit or not. They're out of business.
Were these newer guys or?
Yeah, they're newer.
Okay.
It's-
So yeah, maybe they just couldn't hack the
Oh, it's disgusting,
dance,
dude.
the dance of doing the business.
No, they all say, well, that, but along with trying to keep the truck running.
Yeah.
Dude, the fuel is just unbelievable.
Right.
I don't, I'm, like I said, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but man, it is just,
So no,
I'm,
you got to deal with that every day. I mean, that's a huge part of what you do.
it's just unbelievable. And like I said, you know, they say, well, don't turn it off. Don't run it. And then you got a dead truck. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't run. You got to keep everything running. Or why is it so hot in here?
Yeah.
And it's, the AC, the truck's got to run to have the AC. And if I don't have the AC on, I can't get you in the truck. And I need you in the truck to
Make a
buy
sale.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a very vicious circle.
Right.
Oh, it's crazy. I don't know how long this is going to last, but
I know.
I don't know. So, but I don't know, Ray. But
I don't know either.
I got a lot. Last week I got a lot done, getting stuff moved around, digging stuff out of. Dude, it's unbelievable how much stuff I have for that Mustang. Just digging stuff out and finding stuff.
Sure.
And again, I don't even, like I said, where do you start?
Well, just somewhere. I mean, I know because I've been accumulating parts for my car since the early 90s, maybe late 80s, early 90s. A little here, a little there. And, and I kind of kept it all in one spot. So it was easy. And, but yeah, again, it was like, then I knew I had something. It was like, okay, where is it? Now I got to find it. I know I have it here somewhere. But
yeah, so that's been my, like I said, I've dug out almost everything for the rear, the rear end of the car, the rear section, and gotten all that stuff. And now I'm just trying to finish making room or getting. That's another place. That's another thing. It's kind of funny when you unclutter that mess to make a new mess and where to put it so it's not in the way.
I know. You're putting stuff. I'll put it over here for now.
Yeah.
And it looks like what's behind you.
Yeah.
It's like everything. I got the same thing. It's like, okay, now I got stuff on top of stuff, and that's first stuff never got moved. So the new stuff's on top of that, and there's something on the bottom. Like,
yeah. So it's like trying to, and I don't want to. That's been the issue that I've had, because you move it 3 or 4 times, and then it's like, okay, where's the rest of this? Or
now it's off the grid.
Yeah. So it's been interesting.
I gotta say so. I gotta tell you, we took the car for a drive. The guy that owns the shop had just come back, so when I was gonna leave, so he says, "Oh, come on, I'll go with you." I'm like, "All right." So I climbed in there, and the wheel is kind of big, so I kind of like shoehorn myself under the steering wheel, and the driver's seat for some reason kind of leans back. So we drove around, and I stopped on a side street. I said, "Okay, listen, let's get out." I said, "You drive now." And I got in the passenger seat, and I said, "Wow, this seat's a lot more comfortable. It's more straight up. It doesn't have the lean. That seat must be busted." But Mike is taller. He's 6'1", 6'2", or whatever, bigger guy. And he got in there. He goes, "Man," he goes, "now I know why I don't like these cars." He goes, "They're too tight for me. It's just too tight." And I thought of you. And I said, "How's Brian going to drive his car, man? Because if it's tight for Mike, it's going to be tight for you. You better get a small steering wheel on there."
I'll have when I get it out, I'll show you what I did, because I had put Thunderbird seats in,
Wow.
and they were 65, so they were with the barrel back,
Nice seats. Yeah.
nice seats. And they were powered, but I had to take that out because of how the floor is raised up.
Yeah.
On the Mustang, how they had the platform the seat was the seat was too high, so I had to take the thing off. But I welded an extra bolt and I had to move the track back.
Okay.
So they gave me the room. So I was kind of sitting in the back of the car.
Well, you know,
I mean,
Mike did that. He did that on two of his Chevelles. I think he did it on the Mustang. He did it on the Buick with the bench seat.
yeah,
He put tracks in all of them to move them back. Yeah.
yeah. And so I had to take the one stud out or the one track out. I mean, the bolt out and move it up to put it back in the hole, extend it so that it slid back, it hung over off the back.
Yeah.
And that seat's broken. Because I broke. That's why I had the Thunderbird seats because the Mustang ones I broke a set of those banging gears in it. And the Thunderbird seats. The problem with the Thunderbird seats, they were very comfortable but they were so much wider.
Right.
That they rubbed on the door.
Yeah.
Were so much.
I was even thinking in terms of this car's a convertible and the top was down, but to get into that thing with a top, that's a whole nother contortion,
Yeah.
Wow.
That's tight. That's why I, believe it or not, I loved it when I took the headliner out of my car. I had the headline. I don't know if it was ripped or torn, but when I took the headliner out, that was like 2 inches of headroom in the car.
Right.
That was a big difference.
You could always do like the GT40s and put those roof bumps in,
Be like on the Viper or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but actually I've seen a lot of people, they actually take the seat pan out. They take the seat pan out
To lower that. Okay, that makes sense.
And I've thought about it, that might be something I do. I drove the car for years the way it was.
Sure.
Well,
if you look at what we drove and what condition it was in back then.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember when I bought my GT, my 89 GT, and I brought it home and I drove it for like 2 weeks. Every day, because it was the new car,
Yeah.
And so one day I got up, I said, I want to take the hot rod in, and I fired it up, drove it down the street, turned around, came back, and said, I can't believe I drove this piece of shit.
Really?
It was just because, manual steering, the smell of the exhaust, just all that. And of course, I'm driving a car that has AC and power windows, and you can hear, like I said,
Right.
and smooth and
yep.
Whatever. And I was like, man, I can't believe I drove that thing. And like I said, it's funny, like you said, the stuff that we drove and what we thought was normal, I guess.
Yeah.
So
that's funny. Yeah, that's the other thing. They said this guy was probably going to be coming back. He wants power steering. I can see why. I mean, there's a bunch of play in the wheel, but you dog paddling it to make a maneuver. You're like, really like, come on, turn. And I told it to Mike, and he was like, oh yeah. You got a manual steering car? I said, yeah, my Fiat, but I put a smaller wheel on it, so it's a little tight, but it goes where I want when I want.
Yeah.
So when he drove back, he pulls into the front of the shop, and he just missed this flatbed that was out in the street. It was close, and then he comes in and he hooks around, and he had to just clear the front of our tow truck and back up, and he almost clipped the bumper on the tow truck because he was dog paddling. I said, look, you're dog paddling that wheel, man. He goes, I didn't think I was going to make it for a minute. I'm like, that's why this guy wants power steering.
Yeah.
So I guess to do a stock system is going to be pretty easy.
But you got to change. It's a pain in the balls.
Is it?
Oh my God. And they suck.
Well, you got to change the box, the steering box. Right?
Yeah. Well, you got to, because it has that valve that hangs down, and you got to change the linkage.
Yeah.
And they all leak.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's just, it's just a pain in the ass from the get-go.
All right.
So get ready to pull your hair out on that.
I'll just talk them out of it.
Yeah.
Do something else.
Yeah, you could do it. Like I said, what most people, they should put the power steering on and don't change the steering wheel. And then they wonder why they turn into a wreck hit everything.
Yeah. It's got to be a couple inch difference in the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Because this wheel doesn't even look particularly big until you drive the car.
Yeah.
And you're like, ooh, doodle-oo,
Or you put like I had, like mine has the quick ratio box. It's got a different steering box in it.
Nice.
And that was part of that was an option type thing. And, you know, I don't know about on that 6-cylinder.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
I
Ray.
should look and see if my friend Rick's car has power steering. He's got the 66 convertible also with a 6.
Yeah. Well, it's really easy to tell because they have that valve hanging down off the bottom of the drag link and all that stuff. And the hose, I mean, it's just they all leak and it's a crap. I mean, it's just, well, that's the way it was. But
Yeah.
you know, you'll run around in circles on it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, Ray, but I got to get ready for tomorrow. Hopefully, I can end the week on a little better note.
Well, I hope so. That'd be nice.
Yeah. See what happens.
Packing a little early tonight, get some sleep. I got to go to the airport and pick my daughter and her fiance up in the afternoon at Kennedy Airport, which is going to be a disaster.
Oh, my goodness. Where do they go?
They went down to North Carolina.
Oh.
Because they're looking to move and they were looking at places. But it was funny because any pictures she put up on social media were them at a bar or them at a barbecue place or them drinking this or them drinking that. So my wife wrote to her and said, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you going to be looking at neighborhoods and apartments and houses? And, you know, wasn't that supposed to be what you were doing? Like, all I see is you're putting up pictures of food and booze and drinks. So she writes back to her. She says, Mom, she goes, you don't put pictures of houses and neighborhoods up. You always put pictures of food and drinks. I was like, touche.
Well, that's the important part of the neighborhood. We got to see how good the booze and the food is.
Exactly.
I mean, come on.
Exactly. So
That's funny.
it is. That's good. So.
All right, Ray. So
Okay, Brian.
I can't wait for Sunday to see what kind of excitement you'll have.
I don't think we're going to have a guest on, but they're doing the Cars and Coffee. So I'll be talking about that. And I told them, listen, call in, do a live call in, and we'll talk about it on the air. So we'll see if they remember.
Yeah.
And we'll, otherwise, I'll probably wrap this. I'll probably talk about the Mustang a little more. And we'll see what fun Chris is. I know he moved back into his other house, so he's been busy with that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, no car work for him. So, anyway. All right. So, for Lewis Lees, Playing in Traffic, Greg Guarino, Motormouth Radio, Maco Man Brian, our famous tool dealer, Justin banged out early. And we'll be back here next week, and we'll be back. We'll be on Motormouth Radio Sunday at noon. Or maybe with my new buddy that I found on Twitter. We'll see. Maybe he'll want to call. I got to call him tomorrow and feel this guy out.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That'll be all right, Ray.
Yeah. We'll make a
famous
show.
last words.
I know. All right, Brian, have a good week. Hopefully tomorrow was good for you, and I'll talk to you soon.
That sounds great, Ray. Be safe. Take care.
And
don't follow us home.
Exactly.